Right, I am really delighted to have Sasha Stone back on again for a very quick update about his UK tour and what's going on in his world. You've just done a lot of traveling, haven't you, Sasha? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You're right. I did a tour in the United States, hit Mexico for a week, then hit Bucharest for a week in Romania, then hit Istanbul for a week, then hit South Africa, Cape Town for the last 9 days, back to Istanbul, which I left a moment ago, and just landed in Blighty for the first time in 2 years. And actually, the last time I landed in England, as I was getting off the plane, they were announcing that Queen Elizabeth I or II had just died. So I wonder if I've augured the departure of anyone else since I touched the soil.
I mean, we can get onto that because who knows what's happening with the royal family. I mean,
Right.
seriously, it's anyone's guess. But thanks so much for joining us because you are doing a tour around Great Britain and Ireland, aren't you? Shall I bring up the website before we get stuck into it so we can show everyone where you're going to be and remind you where you're going to be?
Thank you.
So tell us about this tour, the Past, Present, Future tour. Tell us all about it. What are you going to be covering for us all?
Well, I will be beginning with the past. I'll be making my way toward the future, and I shan't be missing anything out. It's essentially my usual shtick, which is looking at inception point or cosmogenesis, archaeocosmology, walking through that, having a little surf through the shit show of corrected history up until the status quo. Look at how we got here. Are we victims or are we majestic steerers of outcomes? Are we the manifestors of the status quo, which of course we are? How we got here into this vale of tears, what the point and the purpose is of incarnating into such a crucifix, such an Armageddon, such a Holocaust in so many ways, and understand the perfect majesty and poignancy of incarnating in this world at this time, and what it speaks to in the majesty of the fabric of our soul and in the ancestral blood song, and then how we transmute and transcend any status quo, no matter how diabolical, into patterns of perfection, into the highest outcome, and how we then navigate the immanent, the immortal, the paradigm which we are now the stewards of threading into the third density temporal realm. So it's a lot on innovation and technology and science. I'll be showing a lot of what we're doing in real terms in microbiology and in advanced particle and plasma physics, in terms of remediating human DNA and how we do literally resurrect the kingdom of heaven on earth. So it's really alpha omega. It's the full spectrum compressed into a 3-hour lecture with a bit of feedback from the audience, hopefully.
It's going to be fantastic. So everyone, I will put the link below to go to Fusion Media where you can book tickets. Please do come along, starting on the 30th of Cornwall and ending up on the 30th of July in Hampshire. I will be at that one with some friends. So it's so important that people, I love the in-person events, Sasha, because you get a completely different vibe. We've spent too much time over computer screens over the last few years, and getting together with like-minded people, you really feel the energy, don't you?
Well, agreed. And I've been touring pretty much incessantly. I've finished a coast-to-coast tour of America just a few weeks ago, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm going back to do a theater tour in the US, a bigger one, so just theaters in September. Now doing my first tour in the UK, and I've got some dates as well in Greater Europe and the Mediterranean in October, all the way to Egypt and Turkey and what have you. So looking forward to that. But for me, it is just moving pretty constantly and seeding, and not just seeding, because I don't have a fixed dialogue or a fixed narrative or fixed anything. I'm kind of constantly moving and morphing the conversation, because as I'm moving, I'm doing business. I'm meeting with science groups. I'm meeting with technologists. I'm meeting to progress different aspects of the New Earth metric that I'm deeply involved and deeply invested with. It's just that I chose to open up the valve in my own life and open source and share a lot of this journey of how do we define heaven on earth? How do we embody, enact, and manifest it? What kind of battles are we met with and obstacles? How do we navigate those, you know? And so I'm just increasingly dialing my life into being something of the rat in the laboratory when it comes to good humans saying, I'm out of the matrix. I'm out of that satanic theater. I'm now going to retool, repurpose my life into a zero-point economy, a prosperity economy, full autodetermination and sovereign jurisdiction, full reclamation of health sovereignty and food and air and water and soil, and how then you engender fellowship amongst your kin and amongst your community and your networks, and the help to then take that to the next level, the quantum level, which is really what the New Earth Project and New Earth Nation is all about. And of course, we are kicking off in 4 days. No, in 2 days. On the 29th, we're launching the Golden Ticket Summit, online summit at the front end of the Lazarus Symposium. And that Golden Ticket Summit for the 2 hours, the first segment of Lazarus, will be expounding and extolling a historic and pioneering initiative that myself and my very considerable team, and this is an executive team, this is heavyweight people who themselves are very, very expert, very wealthy, very realized in life, who also joined this noble path and have helped to consolidate a world-class executive team around me to begin the process of establishing the world's first full-fledged allodial titled jurisdiction, Micronation, where we pierce the corporate veil, bid farewell to the Vatican, to the international cabal, to the IRS and the central banksters, and Washington, Rome, London have no longer any thrall or any connection or any tethering to our micronation jurisdiction. And we're taking that jurisdiction of that New Earth micronation in the heart of the United States, actually in the land called Tennessee by the Cherokee, which we call today Tennessee. And that's where it's ground zero for where we are beginning this process. We intend to announce that in the first quarter of next year by proclamation to the world that it's done. The micronation is de facto, de jure, is now a new nation under the highest and most esoteric law forms on earth. So a very considerable law team behind that as well. And economists, how we're creating the zero-point economy, how people, founding fathers and mothers of the land, are invited in on the golden ticket to become the pioneers, to buy their golden ticket initially, and then retool and purpose their lives into the prosperity economy. And yeah, that's where we're taking it now. Now it's full tilt, literally full tilt. We have to establish our own full jurisdiction, thousands of people, and begin. This is the ark, except it's not an ark that is going to be cast adrift on the ocean. It's an ark that is going to seed in technicolor and in broad daylight the new covenant of the fellowship of the new human.
Very exciting. I can't wait to hear more about that. And I'm assuming that's sort of a model then that you'll be rolling out elsewhere across
around the world. First, we're syndicating that to 52 states in the United States of America. And then once we've secured that, we'll be doing it elsewhere. We've got many locations around the world, including South Africa, where I've just come from. Very excited about this, doing this as well. But I want to prove it out in Middle America, because Middle America is being enmatized now by and demonized by the rest of the world, and which was always part of the globalist agenda, to set America up, then collapse it, then set it on fire. And when I saw that happening, I thought, no, New Earth is going to plant its flag in the heart of Middle America, and we're going to circle the wagons with our brothers and sisters in Middle America whilst the US dollar collapses, whilst the whole world enmity America, because it was never America fomenting those wars. It was a principality called Washington District of Columbia, backed up by the European banksters, and the black nobility had fuck all to do with the good people of Middle America, you know.
Exactly. No, it's exciting times, because so many people are really like, you know, a lot of us know what's wrong now, but in terms of, okay, what do we actually do about it? It's really confusing, and there's not a lot of practical guidance for people. So, talking of changes, though, we can't do this show today without talking about Julian Assange and the fact that he is now safely in Australia. A bit of a nerve-wracking time. I don't know about you, but I was a little bit worried about that plane.
No, I think it's all been very, very crafted and stage crafted, and it's been many, many months in the planning. To be sure,
Mm,
the U.S. State Department is only interested in securing its own safety in a scenario like this. If anything had happened to Julian after he'd left Belmarsh prison, it would have come down on the cabal in an unholy fashion. So they, above more than anyone, were praying that that plane stayed in the air. And of course now he's back home, but you know, foot bound, manacled, and muzzled,
mm,
and unable to really say anything of real consequence. But he's at least in the arms of his family, and soon enough we will hear a lion roar, the likes of which we have never heard in our lives, and that lion's roar will come from the belly of Julian Assange.
absolutely. I mean, in terms of where do you think, so much is happening, it's quite hard to keep track of what's really going on often, but how optimistic are you at the moment in terms of where we're actually at? Or
Beyond
pessimistic?
beyond optimistic. Look at me, I'm wearing a rosy pink shirt. I've just landed in England, you know, Satan's central when it comes to Cronus, the crown, and the
Mm,
hegemony of wealth and the promulgation of evil doing when it comes to things like weaponized biolabs in Wuhan. Where do you think that all comes from? It's not from Princeton, it's from Oxford.
mm,
It's from Purbright Institute. It's from Kinetic in the rolling hills in England, round about where I am right now.
mm,
You know, it's just deeply cloistered and sequestered, and good people of Middle England as well have always been ignorant to the evil that lies beneath, and the witchery, the black magic. And we have to now start to reckon with the fact that Queen Elizabeth I, you know, this delightfully sort of, I mean, technicolored harlot dressed up as a virgin queen, was a psyop. um, she was anything and everything but a virgin. So there was your treason right there, and the grand deception beginning 500-600 years ago. But in her basement was John Dee, you know,
mm,
practicing witchcraft and invoking the demon and the demiurge into chemistry, heavily financed, as were many of those alchemists and scryers and viziers in the basements of the black nobility at that time. So really the evils of the world in terms of, you know, thermonuclear Armageddon and mRNA, DNA infiltration by synthetic molecules, and the systemic poisoning the air, soil, and water, and the virulent diseases that have plagued humanity since the 1600s and culled us, have all issued from those alchemical basements. Be clear, this is black
mm,
magic and witchcraft, satanic witchery. And that was under the countenance of the great and good kings and queens of old. And I'm not talking about the good, venerable
mm,
kings and queens of old, because there were a few. To name one, Tsar Nikolai in Russia of the Romanov dynasty. Of course, he was murdered, lined up with his beautiful children and his wife, and massacred with machine guns at the turn of last century, financed by the Bolshevik Revolution, or promulgated by the Bolshevik Revolution, but financed by Wall Street and the City of London and the Vatican. So the takedown of the noble Romanov dynasty in Russia, for instance, was the taking down of the last of the great noble bloodlines of the good kingly lines. And that's been going on for many hundreds of years by these Khazarian mafiosi, these snake blood draconian elements, who have infiltrated through the House of Saud and Al Maktoum and the others in the Middle East, have usurped the good sheikhs and the good kings and sultans and rajas of Asia and the Middle East and so on. You know, it goes on and on and on. But the point being that 500-600 years is what we have to reckon with since really our fall from grace, as I see it.
yeah.
That's the piece that we need to deal with right now. So if you walk around Middle England in the malls, as I've just been through a godless mall near Egham here, and I've not walked in England for 2 years, and even then I was just in and out fleetingly. Before that, it was 3 years ago. So 5 years I've not really mingled in England, but because I'm barefoot most of the time, either in Bali at my home there or at my home in Mexico on the back of La Laguna, or I'm living in airport lounges. But I can tell you that just walking through a mall a moment ago, an hour ago in England, just a lot of obesity I noticed, much like America went in the 90s and in the 2000s, just abject, virulent obesity now. Probably a testament to people sweltering in their basements and gaming and pornographizing or doing whatever people do in their cloistered basements. But it's unhealthy. It speaks to the mechanics of death, not to the mechanics of life. A lot of glazed expressions on the face, a lot of crypto transgenderification going on, you know, frustrated boys and girls not quite identifying with their PP or their, you know, it's just a little sad, a little saddening. I'm not picking up on any thrum of the Adamite yet. I'll let you know at the end of this tour.
I hope you won't be too disappointed. There's a few really good little enclaves of people really doing a lot of work, but you're right, the divide between sort of the healthy and the people trying to keep themselves sovereign and those not is huge now, absolutely huge, and it's very, very sad to see. And you know, as a parent myself, seeing the general, you know, health status of youngsters now is absolutely criminal. It really is. It's going to take a lot of putting right. So I really hope you're enjoying this podcast as much as I am. And I just wanted to take a little break to tell you about the amazing products by the sponsor of this podcast, the biophotonic EMF and bioresonance devices, which help us take our healing to the next frequency. So let me start with the bioresonance devices. Biophotonic have two amazing little devices, the little BioNexus and the biophotonic, and both of these are really the next generation in bioresonance devices. So let's start with the little BioNexus. This amazing little device literally sits in the palm of your hand. And it's now my go-to support, especially when doing my daily manifestations and affirmation practices. But it will balance out my frequency to work on whatever needs balancing for me right here, right now. So what are some of the benefits of this little BioNexus? Improved energy, decreased inflammation, supports our immune system, psychological homeostasis. But also it supports the integrity of the cells, improves our memory, cognitive, emotional and psychological states, and speeds up recovery. And just like we've been talking about today, it really improves human consciousness support. Now, the other bioresonance device, the biophotonic, absolutely amazing little device, comes preloaded with a range of therapies. And this will clear parasites, giving active protection. You can wear it with you. It comes in a little pouch that you can wear around your neck, and it detoxifies heavy metals, clears EMF radiation out of cells, cleanses bacteria and viruses, detoxes chemicals and toxins, DNA repair, pain repair, you name it. And it's even got calming meditation practices that, well, complexes that you can run to strengthen the aura field, and frequency packs can also be added to your water. I think we all know the detrimental effects now of mobile, Bluetooth and EMF radiation. They've been extensively studied and I've done loads of videos on it. So minimizing our exposure is crucial. So what's really key is both the biophotonic and the BioNexus. They're standalone, lovely little devices that don't require Bluetooth connection, a Wi-Fi connection. You don't need to buy any frequency packages. There's no subscription fee, and you don't need a mobile phone to control them. There's no electrodes. They're completely wireless, ready to use straight from the box. So you can get these and a full range of EMF protection devices that you can use for yourself and your pets. Don't forget to use coupon code CE20 to get 20% off all products, including the EMF protection. Thank you. And now back to the podcast. In terms of your talk, what are you looking forward to most? What are you hoping to bring to us a lot in the UK?
Well, I don't have any expectations. You know, people could throw tomatoes and potatoes at me. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other, because I'm very much in the now. I know what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to certain critical, elemental brush strokes that need to now be played on that canvas of life. Things like the resurrection of the ancestral blood song. That piece, speaking to the absolution of 500 years of satanic hegemony over and dominion over our poor black skin, brown skin, red skin, yellow skin friends who've now come back en masse as orchestrated George Soros funded immigrants, coupled with good people from around the world who've chosen to come back to the countries that colonized them, which is fair play. It's fair enough. I'm one of them. So I was colonized, you know, I'm a white African, you know, and a refugee. I came here as a refugee, albeit a long time ago. So that resurrection of the ancestral blood song is one seminal, elemental piece that needs to be reckoned with. The resurrection of the eternal mother, that's the most important piece. That's the one that we have to consciously invoke into our lives, into the great gestalt. We have to do it. We have to feminize. We have to square the circle or circle the square now, psycho-intellectually, psycho-emotionally, psycho-spiritually, psycho-culturally, psycho-civilizationally. We have got to now allow for that patriarchal aspect to fall into its natural dissolution as the spirit of the eternal mother or the Magdalene emerges to do the healing and the absolving and to do the remembrance as well. And the invocations that come with the remembrance to rekindle our majesty and our true spirit so that we can, whoever we are, wherever we are, turn to one another and see kinship in this world. And remember that the trial of separation was always just a bad dream and a choice. You know, the choice was to either dream badly or dream wisely. And oftentimes we choose to dream badly and we choose to play with the fallen light of Atlantis, and things hurt, sharp objects hurt, and playing with time and money and fear becomes a deeply addictive and nefarious exercise that can keep us trapped for multiple incarnations. But here we are on the brink of calamity and catastrophic failure for a good reason. It's a compression event that each of us have orchestrated collectively to be here and now at this end of days so that we can allow the citadel to fall, which is happening with the crowns of Europe and with the Vatican complex and with Washington District of Columbia. The banking sector, the high street, the big box companies, Silicon Valley, the military industrial complex, they're all variously on the back foot and under systemic collapse. So that's a great thing. Now that strips us bare because it means that daddy is falling to his knees. Daddy is not there to look after us and protect us. He never was. He was there to commandeer us, to cajole us, commandeer us, bully us, and even to sacrifice us and to harvest us. That patriarchal wheel was not in service of humanity, but it mind-fucked and culturally programmed billions of souls over millennia into abeyance, into servitude, into fear reflexivity. But now, as this new emergent light field impacts us, revelation is upon us, and you'd have to be brain dead not to see that. So the best thing in a time of revelation is to detach from all addictions, detach from all adherences, and actually be insecure and allow those winds of change to purify and don't try to find a foothold or a handrest, because it's not to be had. The wisdom of insecurity is what emerges through when the winds of change are buffeting us like this. and the cleansing that comes with that, the purification that comes with that, means that we're emerging into a true golden dawn where the meek do inherit the earth in real time. And I think we're so blessed to be on the threshold of that new dawn, so to speak. I've just got off a plane a couple of hours ago from Southern Africa, where I was for 9 days, cloistered behind razor wire and electric fences and 24-hour security patrols, with a group of scientists, people who have, under the aegis of one particular savant electrochemical scientist, absolute genius, they have defined a whole new physics, which is going to revolutionize the world, the so-called medbed technology. They don't use the word medbed. They've got far more sophisticated terminology, but I've been experiencing the technology myself, and I've been with them and understanding the ramification of what's about to happen in this world. So the technology is here. It's about to erupt later this year into next year, by the middle of next year, without any question of doubt. The technology suite that I've witnessed and experienced and learned about the last 9 days in Africa is going to change the world we think we know. And now there are other science groups, some in Romania that I've been involved in, Italy as well, others in Thailand, believe it or not, very advanced microbiological science going on in that part of the world. And I'm very connected with a number of these vanguard science groups who are exploring the frontiers of immortality, of learning how to turn the death gene off, so to speak, and of then how to resurrect the atomic matrices, molecular cellular matrices back into coherence. But the suite in technology suite in South Africa is already done, built, made, manufactured, and multiple products which are going to be hitting the market. Very, very exciting, because as I sit here with you now, I mean, I've been saying this for a few years like a madman, and of course I've been vilified for it. But now I know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that you will live to 300 or 400 years or 500 years if you choose to. All of us can and will if we choose to. Now the process of returning to immanence is absolutely occurring in the next 36 months to 60 months. It'll become de jure as soon as we, you and I, and your audience and my audience and the greater world, as soon as we have stood down the fiction of the status quo that still pretends at overpowering our reason by employing things like statutory regulations and compliances and codexes and so on to try to outlaw innovation into the world. That's the problem. Government does not serve humanity. It only outlaws anything that does serve humanity. So that's what government has emerged into. But wise old beards like me know that government was foundationally orchestrated and engineered precisely in order to fulfill that function, to prevent innovation, to prevent longevity, to prevent the eradication of war, disease, and poverty from the Babylonian business model. So now that we see that, we can disempower and disengage and disentangle our lives from this godless thing called government by simply not paying any attention to it, simply not filling out those forms with block black capital letters, as I've been urging people for over a decade, simply not filling out those godless income tax forms, which are highly treasonous and a crime against yourself, causing fraud against yourself. So there's all sorts of mechanical ways that each of us have always had, but now are invited to seriously address the chicken shit role that we play in the satanic theater and have done generationally. It all really comes down to you and me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just one more very quick question is, okay, these technologies, I'm 100% with you, they exist. And actually, I think a lot of them have existed for quite a long while. But what makes you so confident that actually going to be able to get out to the people? Because quite honestly, over the last few years, there's so many people resting on their laurels, doing nothing, waiting for the med beds, waiting for a revaluation and
That's
not
dangerous.
making themselves healthy. and you know, independent now. So how do you see that playing into it?
Oh, I've never. I mean, I know that my beloved friends Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, and others have spoken ad infinitum about med beds. I have not.
Mm.
2 years ago, thereabouts, I said I'm going to be advancing frequency technology that I have my hands on. This is Russian cosmonaut frequency technology, and I'm going to be working on advancing a suite of technologies called the Life Pod. And I began that process with my military engineer partners in Romania. So we began that process of designing. We have the core technology, but we wanted to design these into kind of beds. So we started looking at manufacture in China and engaging with China. Then the trade links became very, very kind of jammed up because of what was going on with the US State Department and NATO trying to enmitize China and conflate, you know, kind of a world war because of the BRICS thing. So it was becoming such a pain in the ass. And then I got pulled into microbiology with the New Earth Pharmacy. And I decided to swing my focus into financing the New Earth Pharmacy, the microbiological formulas that can eradicate the spike protein replication and the weaponized E. coli, which are the two most dangerous threats facing humanity. So we've done that successfully, and we're now in fulfillment. So anyone can go to thenewearthpharmacy.com and purchase the spike and weaponized E. coli combination called Spike Turbo. And that is magic in a bottle. So it cost a fortune to bring that to market. And I'm very, very proud of that work. And that's slowly dialing out there. But I dropped the Life Pod thing in order to focus on the microbiology, because I felt that that was more of an existential threat. The more we learned about the replication of the spike protein and the weaponized E. coli, and I had the opportunity through the Romanian military folks to meet with this advanced microbiological team and a breakthrough innovative science in terms of protein extraction. So I decided to drop everything and finance that. I'm not a financier, but if I do something, I'll just have to make my choices wisely. And I got behind the New Earth Pharmacy, and now we're out there and in fulfillment. So I was about to swing my attention back to taking our frequency technologies to the market again and look at how we can again take forward the Life Pod series. And in the course of the last year, I've been hearing of great advances in technologies, these applications that appeared to be even more advanced than what I was working with. And that was what ended up putting me on a plane to Africa to go and meet with this group and see for myself. So, but I've been in the last few months to a few facilities, one in Nevada on the eve of my Catch Me If You Can tour that I just did a couple of months back in America. And I went to a facility in Nevada to see a med bed that was mothballed there. And that's a 20-year-old med bed, fascinating technology and amazing, but impractical in that it's so big and heavy. You need a commercial crane to lift the bed, and you'd have to, you know, travel it across the country on flatbed trucks. It's just improbable.
Yeah.
Old and heavy technology, but works by best accounts. And there's 3 of those in the United States. 2 of them were offered to me. And at some point, I would love to pick up with the science group there and maybe even take those technologies into a secure facility to do testings alongside some of these other modalities. But the key piece here is that all roads seem to lead me back to this group in Southern Africa. So eventually I got on a plane, went there. This is 10 days ago. And I'll be blunt. I have a family member, a great beloved, who is stage 4 metastasized cancer in multiple organs, who we didn't even know if she would make the flight from Istanbul to Cape Town. And so that's a case I've been working on for 2 years. We were given a 3 to 4 week diagnosis 2 years ago. So we've kept her alive for 2 years against all odds. And when I heard about Dr. X in Southern Africa, I spoke to him on the phone and I said, listen, I want to learn more about what it is that you're doing. I know that you're incredibly secretive and that your group are very heavily funded and that you don't need money. You just are getting on and doing what you're doing and getting ready to transform the world. But I said, I want to play and see where I can facilitate with my own network. And he said, well, where are you? I said, Istanbul. He said, why? I said, I'm in a hospital nurturing a beloved who is in very, very serious critical condition. He said, get her on a plane immediately. And I said, she can't even sit, let alone get up. So there's no way she would make it unless she was lying flat. And I can't even get her to our other facility in Canada because there's a layover in Frankfurt and it would be too difficult. And, you know, I don't think she'd make the journey. And he said, there is a direct flight from Istanbul to Cape Town. Get her on the next flight. We'll be at the airport. 3 days later, I had her on the flight. I was with her and we arrived. That was 10 days ago. All I can tell you is I left her yesterday in the sunshine, walking downstairs outside the laboratory, beaming. And, you know, massive shrinkage of the tumors, I believe 70 to 80%, maybe more in 10 days. Just extraordinary. MRSA wound infections that were about to kill her from the sepsis, because it was wound infections that were going to kill her because she's been on liquid antibiotics for 2 years, intravenous, and no cocktail of antibiotics were working with the infections anymore. So it was really critical. It was so serious, and infections gone. And these open wounds that were literally the size of a pumpkin have now been shrinking every day. And will be at nil within a couple of weeks. I mean, this is miracle magic wand technology. So I went there to see and learn more about the tech. At the same time, took a beloved in as a canary, and all I can say is it's been life-changing. And I will go back immediately after my tour in the UK. I'll be on a plane the next day back to continue the filming and continue taking this tech forward. It's just, and I'm so excited about the application because it's not just for remediating cancers and every disease known to man, because all disease is a singularity, as I've been saying for the last few years. Every disease is one disease, and it's all to do with incoherence, which is to do with a nutritional deficiency, essentially, in insufficient trace minerals and vitamins in the angle of light getting into the cell. So go figure, you know, environment, atmosphere, environment, biosphere, soil, water, and then the biome. So once we cleanse all of those, and again, this singularity, universal singularity technology application using plasma embedding in these chambers is, to my mind, the magic so-called med-bed tech that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. I mean, you know, I completely believe in these technologies. I just encourage people not to wait. Be doing other stuff whilst you're waiting for these to be rolled.
Agreed, 100%. But you know, the best thing people can do in waiting is just to revert to Florence Nightingale. And it really does come down to clean, structured water, to sunlight, a lot of it, and fresh air. And those three things, and grounding and earthing on the living soil as much as humanly can, and keep moving, your body will reboot. Do you know how many people get cancer stage 1, 2, 3, 4 without even knowing it, and then the cancer goes away before they even had a diagnosis? Cancers are moving through us constantly like a wave. It's actually a travesty when you find out you've got a cancer, because then the mind often kicks in and goes, oh my God, I've got a cancer, and now it's a thing. Because actually cancers are constantly moving in and out of us, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sasha. I'll let you get some rest now. I am really looking forward to seeing you in Hampshire. For everyone watching this, the links to the tour are below. Go sign up. We all want to see you there. It's going to be a fantastic gathering, really great sharing of energy, and we can't wait to see you. Thanks, Sasha.
Thanks, darling. Much
Thank
love
you
to
so
Take
much
care.
for taking
Bye.
the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.